This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
And now, Bob Cordaro.
Great good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. My name is Bob Cordaro, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. I'm a native son of this region, born, raised, and returned. I've practiced law, started businesses, run for political office, won, and lost. Along the way, I had the blessed fortune to have 5 kids and about that many English bulldogs. Lately, some of you have become aware of me as a daily radio host on WILK, where I carry on every day about this great area and this amazing country. When we watch the insanity of our leadership class, elected and self-appointed, we worry for ourselves, our children, our grandchildren, friends, neighbors, and this place we call home. And we worry for our country and this world, which is being torn apart by people who care more about their power, privilege, and control over you than they do about the people they are supposed to lead, protect, and help succeed. And what about all of you? What is it about this part of Pennsylvania? I've been around you and known you all my life. You are great workers, innovators, business people. You're the best of mothers, fathers, friends, neighbors, and human beings. You're the greatest patriots, soldiers, citizens, and Americans. You are America. You deserve better and you need a voice. I tried to do it in politics and failed. Politics beat me. But I will still speak on the radio every day and now on TV once a week. Together, we have to protect our homes, our state, and our country. The people from this area have done it before. In the face of everything, no matter the obstacle or setback, you have always created the best families, communities, and lives possible. You have provided a sterling example to the country that faith, hard work, perseverance, and the spirit of America can overcome all. And now we must do our part to save the miracle that is this country's founding, Constitution, and freedoms. Each day on the radio and each week here on TV, we will tell those in charge we are better than that. We deserve more. You will not hold us back any longer. You will not crush our greatness as Pennsylvanians, as Americans. It is our time. It is our children and grandchildren's time. It is time for our area to flourish and triumph, and you, our so-called leaders, have to get out of our way. Let's develop the tools and voice to make that happen. Now, this won't be like the radio show I do every day, however. On WILK, we do a lot of politics, a lot of criticism, and a lot of opinions. For this TV show, we want to accentuate the positive, to feature those who have achieved and have or want connections to this region. So it's a whole different ballgame, the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. We hope you'll allow us to grow, to improve, and to bring you more and something better each and every week. We hope we can make mistakes, technical or otherwise, and that we are secure enough to learn on our side, and you're comfortable enough to stick with us. Today, in our regular health segment, we have Dr. Bryan Frantz, a world-renowned periodontist who is from this area and practice here. Today, he's going to discuss the surprising and scary ramifications of periodontal issues we don't think about. What is it? We're going to talk about periodontal disease every week. We're not going to do that. But I thought it would be important to talk about it today. Before Bryan jumps into other health topics, let's get to the basics. When you got the best in the world, take advantage of it. I say open wide. Now, each year at this time, for more than 120 years, all of Pennsylvania's power players descend on New York City for the annual Pennsylvania Society dinner and a week of camaraderie, glad handing, jockeying, and schmoozing. Power Brunch Player of the Week, attorney Elizabeth Preate Havey, is the 47th president of the Pennsylvania Society and the first woman ever to hold that prestigious post. Liz is a transactional attorney with Dilworth Paxson, LLC, based in Philadelphia. Her accomplishments and activities could fill a phone book if there was still such a thing. Now, she's the mother of 3, and her husband, Tyler Havey, is also a high-powered attorney practicing in the Philly area. And he is also a native of our area. Liz has a twin sister, Alexandra, who is another powerhouse. Both are the daughters of attorney Ernest Preate Jr., Pennsylvania's former attorney general. So, with the help of God, our families, our communities, and each other, let us begin.
Dr. Bryan Frantz is an internationally recognized periodontist. He heads a multi-specialty dental practice in Dunmore and has consulted, lectured, and taught around the world in his chosen field.
In our weekly health segment, we're joined again by Dr. Bryan Frantz, a world-renowned periodontist. And I thought that because that's his specialty, because he's one of the best on the planet at doing it, at treating it, at analyzing it, that we would talk to him this week and next week about periodontal disease. Bryan, first of all, welcome. And second of all, tell us what it is.
Sure. So, Bob, periodontal disease is an inflammatory disease that ultimately destroys the gum tissue and bone that supports the teeth. That's really what it is. It's a very common disease. Greater than 50% of the adults in the world have some form of gum disease.
Remarkable.
Yeah, it is. It's you and I were talking before, and you're right. It's really a silent a problem, if you will. It's a global healthcare problem. It's actually the 6th most common chronic inflammatory disease in the world. It's a true public health problem.
What are the many causes of it, or at least give us a few of them, the primary causes?
Sure. So, Bob, the main cause, the primary cause is bacterial plaque. The bacteria that reside in the mouth over time, due to a number of factors, the bacteria shifts into a harmful bacteria, which ultimately causes the body to start an immune response to try and wall off the bacteria. Unfortunately, the outcome of that response is bone loss around the teeth. When we were growing up, our grandparents would refer to this as pyorrhea. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, pyorrhea resulted in tooth loss. It's painless. The problem is it goes undetected because it progresses painlessly until it's almost too late.
So someone determines they're having problems. Give us some quick symptoms, and then let's talk about the causes.
Bob, the most important symptom to look for are your gums bleeding. Bleeding, as we know, is a cardinal sign of inflammation. So if you have bleeding gums, if your gum tissue is swollen, if you notice that your teeth are becoming loose or starting to spread apart, those can be very important indicators that you have a problem.
This is almost as painful as a dental visit. So there's a myriad causes. But what are the consequences?
Right. And I'd also like to add, Bob, in terms of I mentioned that bacterial plaque is the primary cause, but cigarette smoking and genetics and certain immune conditions that patients have can accelerate the course of the disease or make a patient more prone to developing periodontal disease. Unfortunately, the consequences are devastating. It's loss of teeth. Mm-hmm. Which has consequences both psychologically and functionally for patients. The good news is that the disease is actually very treatable. We have wonderful therapies today to treat gum disease and to stabilize the gum and bone around the teeth so that patients can have their teeth for a lifetime.
So it's hopeful, but it's a serious problem that's sort of hidden and people aren't thinking about it on an everyday basis. How do we educate the public to pay attention to it?
Well, one of the reasons I'm sitting here is to try and create awareness of this disease. And you're exactly right. For a very long time, this disease went undetected. However, patients are becoming more and more aware of the disease, primarily because periodontal disease is associated and is considered a risk factor for many systemic conditions, such as cardiovascular disease and diabetes.
I want to go into those in depth next week because people have to realize everything starts with the mouth. And if you leave periodontal disease untreated, the things that could happen to you, the things that are related to it and cascading effect People have to know that. So I appreciate that, Bryan.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, Bob, I think the key with any disease is early detection. And we'll get into a little bit of the treatment, as you said, later on in the next several segments. But early detection and treatment has tremendous benefits in reversing and stabilizing the disease.
Dr. Bryan Frantz, thank you for joining us this week again. We look forward to following up on this particular subject and your health segment throughout the year. It's the things you have planned, I think people are going to really appreciate.
Thanks, Bob.
All right. Dr. Bryan Frantz.
And now, the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show.
Our Power Brunch Player of the Week this week is attorney Liz Preate Havey. She's a Scrantonian through and through. Grew up in Waverly, Scranton Prep, all that. And she has risen to a number of different places of prominence. The highlight for this week is the upcoming Pennsylvania Society events in New York City. She's become the first female president of the Pennsylvania Society, and we welcome her to the show. Liz, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Bob. Thanks for having me on.
Well, tell us a little bit about you. Tell us of some of your background. I've mentioned it in the open of the show itself, but tell us about what you do and where you're coming from.
Okay. So I grew up in Clark Summit and Waverly. I went to Our Lady of Peace School, Scranton Prep. I then went to Villanova University, and from there to University of Pennsylvania Law School, which is why I'm still in Philadelphia area practicing law. I am primarily a finance lawyer, but I'm also general counsel to the National Constitution Center here in Philadelphia. And I like to get involved in a lot of kind of nonprofit stuff, community-oriented stuff. And I have been attending the Pennsylvania Society with my family for many, many years, for decades. And it's wonderful for me to become, after 124 years, this is the first time they have a female president. I'm thrilled to do it.
Well, in fact, I don't know how many years ago, maybe 30 years ago, that's where I met you originally. And, the show's focus has been about area natives and their connections to the community and what they've done in the larger world. And that's why this is ideal to talk to you about it. Now, a lot of people associate the Pennsylvania Society almost with, I don't know, the elite or people that are set apart from them, taking care of themselves and so forth. I've been there a number of times, and that's really not what it is. It's a lot of fun and a lot of really neat people getting together. So tell us what the Pennsylvania Society is, a little bit of its history, taking us up to your induction as president.
So, over 100 years ago, a bunch of prominent people who had grown up in Pennsylvania and had moved to New York, captains of industry, decided that they wanted to have this annual dinner. It grew and grew and grew to the point where it is today, where thousands of us come from Pennsylvania to New York to celebrate some great Pennsylvania citizen. We give a gold medal award every year to one person or a few people, a family, like we're doing this year, people who have contributed immensely to Pennsylvania, whether it's in philanthropy, education, science, the arts, industry. And around this dinner, this big black tie dinner on Saturday night, are lots of wonderful events. Lots of opportunities for people to, you write glad hand and make deals, to network. But you know what is so great about it is really about civil discourse. And we've lost that in America. This is about people from different, competitors going to the same event, people on different aisles of the political spectrum going to the same event, breaking bread, talking to each other in a relaxed, fun, festive setting. Some of the most important deals, I think, from around the state happen this weekend in New York. And we love to honor this wonderful family this year from Western Pennsylvania. We move around. We pick somebody from either the East, the West, or Central. Last year, it was the eastern part of Pennsylvania. This time, we're going to go out to Allegheny County, and we're honoring the Broadhurst family. The Broadhurst family owns Restaurants around the state employs about 8,000 people. Some of you may know the Eat in Park diners, but they have really been just an incredible company to work for. People love working for them. They stepped up in COVID. Even though they had to furlough employees, they made sure to continue to pay their health insurance. They did whatever they could to keep as many people getting paid as possible, even when the restaurants were shut down. They made sure that area students could get boxed lunches, and they gave a lot of money. They continue to give a lot of money away. They give 5% of their profits away every single year. So they're just a really wonderful family. Every one of their children, they and their children are all on nonprofit boards all across Pennsylvania. And they've also raised $11 million for children's hospitals in the fight against pediatric cancer.
Well, it sounds like the Broadhurst family is well deserving. So you mentioned other events. I know there's dinners and lunches and people who are looking to launch campaigns, people who are looking to market their businesses to high-level people. They'll be having parties all over town. And then, of course, there's the focal point, which is where now? It was always the Waldorf when I went, and that's not even open right now.
I know, and that has been a big disappointment for a lot of people. Several years ago, the Waldorf needed to have extensive refurbishing, specifically the big room where we celebrate the dinner. So the Waldorf has been closed, and we have moved to the only hotel that can hold thousands of people. The dinner itself is about 1,000 people. So we are at the Hilton Midtown. However, parts of the Waldorf are open. So the Society, for the first time in several years, is having its own reception Friday afternoon for our members from 3 to 5. It's already sold out, but that's to show everyone our commitment to go back to the Waldorf, which could be as soon as next year. Next year will be our 125th anniversary. We think it'll be a really special year. We're going to do some different things. But since I became the president, which was this spring, I was inducted, we've launched a few initiatives. One of which I think is very important. It's called our Keystone Council. And that is a group of 35-ish and under young leaders from all over the state. People who are leaders in business, lawyers, nonprofits, banking, a great group of young people who are kind of the next generation, who believe in the tradition of the society, who love kind of having this opportunity to have this civil discourse for the weekend. And we have a special price for them. So this isn't cost prohibitive. Plus, a lot of these, we have sponsors who want to bring people to this event who may not be able to afford it. So if anybody ever wants to come, and they can always reach out to the PAsociety.com or reach out to me, and we can figure out a way to get you there. But so this Keystone Council we launched, and we're probably going to have 20 or 30 people who are 35 or under coming this year on their own accord or with sponsorships. Another thing that we're working on is the President's Council. So we have a group of very esteemed former or past presidents who want to see this go on. They don't want it to go, by way of COVID, where everybody stopped going to parties and nobody wants to go to New York. So how do we keep this going? So they're sponsoring people to attend. And hopefully we're going to have a little bit of a legacy giving group of people who will almost like an endowment. So you give a certain amount of money to keep us through those hard years. So we could not have any events during COVID. So that did set us back. We are a nonprofit, so we're always looking for philanthropy in that respect. But we not only have the event in New York, we have the spring event where we honor a great Pennsylvanian. We have a luncheon, and those move from all over the state. We initiated a big party in Pittsburgh. Again, it's a networking opportunity. So we had a wonderful event this October in Pittsburgh with 200 people from the Allegheny County area. We did a smaller event in Philadelphia, and we're going to keep on doing these events all throughout the year.
you ascended to the position of president of the Pennsylvania Society this spring. How long is your term for?
My term is for 2 years. So this will be our first dinner. As I said, we started some events that I've attended already around the Commonwealth, and I will continue to do that. Looking forward to a great event this spring in March. Hopefully going to do one up in Scranton, by the way.
Good.
We've been working on that. We do have some of our council members are from Scranton. And again, people like my family, the Preate family, has been going to this event for, oh my gosh, since I was 18 years old. I won't say how long that is, but we have been going. My Uncle Bob Preate was on the council, and he passed many years ago. And it was always my family thing, my father's dream that we continue to stay involved. So we're actually going with a big contingent. We've got 2 tables up at the dinner this year, and we're really excited.
Well, are you the first, not only first female president, are you the first president from Northeast Pennsylvania, Lackawanna County?
From Lackawanna County, yes, but not Northeast Pennsylvania. AJ Sardoni was, from Sardoni Construction,
Correct,
from
yes.
the Wilkes-Barre area, has been very committed to the society. His daughter is now on the board with me on the council and helped us initiate the Keystone Council, and she even sponsored the event in Philadelphia. So she is very involved. And our executive director is Julian Scranton.
Oh.
She now lives in Pittsburgh, but of course she is from the Scranton family. She grew up in Waverly, directly across the street from me. We used to babysit her, my sister and I. So, yep.
And now you babysit her in a different way.
Yes.
So, I don't know, to me, for many, many years, the Pennsylvania Society dinner was the kickoff of Christmas. And you're in New York, and everything is lit up and everything's decorated and very festive. I'm hoping that will be one of the challenges you can overcome this year to make it like it had been.
Absolutely. We ended up having the dinner last year, and obviously the turnout was less because it was just as this COVID outbreak was happening again, but we had already paid for everything. So those that chose to come, and we still had several hundred people. And it was just a beautiful, beautiful event, and it will be just as beautiful as it always has been. We have, wonderful Christmas decorations everywhere, and we have a great band. So it's a little bit different at the Hilton because the space opens up, and we're able to have a band and dancing and dessert as opposed to dessert being served. So, it's fantastic. And there are parties, late night. They start, actually, the first one is on Thursday, breakfasts all the way Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And again, all across all business and business industries, as well as, there's politics. Senator Casey's having something, President Pro Tem Kim Ward, the governor-elect will probably be there. So there's a bit of politics and also business networking.
But bipartisan politics, which I think is
bipartisan. And
important.
Again, that's what it's so nice about it, Bob, is that we're all sitting in the same room and trying to break bread together, shake hands. My dad would say when he was in politics, it was an opportunity for him to really walk right up to the person who may have been against him in the election, but he would shake that person's hand and have a cordial conversation. He and Governor Casey would be there together when he was Attorney General, and always have a nice time, respecting each other. So that's really important. And the society is an institution that should continue to be able to provide that for people.
So, you work with Dilworth Paxson. I mean, a big firm. I was associated with them many years ago. And your husband, Tyler, is a high-powered lawyer. You've got 3 kids. How did you do it in the midst of both of you with tremendous time-consuming careers? And you've had so much between the Constitution Center now, this organization, the Pennsylvania Society. How have you managed to do all of these things at once?
Well, you know what? That's a great question. I'm a busy bee, but I'll tell you, family first. So I'm 80% time at my law firm, so I can do this philanthropy and still be home with my kids. The great news is that the boys are independent. I've got one at Penn State. We are really hardcore Pennsylvanians, aren't we? We've got one at Penn State. I've got one that's a senior in high school and one that's in 8th grade. So they're well on their way. But it's a juggling act. I think the one thing that's been nice about COVID is that it's allowed me to spend a lot of time working from home. This is my home office. And so I can be here when the kids get off the bus easily and continue to work and spend a lot of time with them.
Well, Liz Preate Havey, we are so happy you joined us to tell us about this week's Pennsylvania Society events and to tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, there's people that a lot of people know of you and know you, but a lot of people don't. And here you are in the middle of this swirl of activity that is going to have impact politically, business-wise, and so forth. It's really an epicenter of commerce and politics in Pennsylvania. So we appreciate you joining us. We know you're going to run a successful series of events this week. And I know the Preate family will have a lot of fun.
Thank you so much for having me, Bob.
All right. Liz Preate, thank you.
Your Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show. Join us every week for the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week.
Well, we hope you enjoyed today's show. I have been going to New York for about a decade, maybe more, to the Pennsylvania Society Dinner. My father was doing it before I did. And it's always been a gala affair, a gala week. And it is incredible to know that somebody like Liz Preate Havey, an area native, is in charge of all of that. It is an extravaganza, nothing short of it. So it was good to talk to her about that and what it is, what it isn't, and to understand it's upcoming this week and it's going to be a big to-do, and it always is. I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did, and I really enjoyed it. I hope you got to be with the ones you love, with your family, with those you wanted to be with, and that you had some fun this past weekend. Join us next week for another edition of The Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
Thanks for being part of the program. You've got an appointment every Sunday morning at 11:30 right here on WNEP TV. The Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.